Hello, Doom Scribblers. Yesterday we talked about post-project depression and what kind of care you might take of yourself in order to get through that dip at the end of a project and get yourself ready for another one. And I asked people to share in the comments about strategies they've got for self-care. And people answered, and there were some wonderful answers. And I would encourage you to read that whole thread because there are just some really good ideas for how you can take care of yourself, make time for yourself. As I like to call it, how to be properly selfish. You know, selfish gets a bad rap, but there's a way to be properly selfish and protect your time. And if you're a writer, you really need to do that. And if you're a writer of series, you doubly need to take care of yourself. As the day went on, and I was looking at people's wonderful replies, I noticed something. I noticed that no men had responded. Very, very late in the day, one guy did respond about a book, but didn't share anything about either post-project depression or self-care. And that got me thinking, because you know that the suicide rates between men and women, men are 3 times more likely to succeed in killing themselves than women are. And it's a complicated issue because it could have something to do with the way in which men choose to end their lives versus the way in which women choose to end their lives. Men's suicide attempts tend to be much more violent and therefore succeed. So it could be that the suicide rates for men are higher because of that outgoing thing that men do. But there's also significant data to suggest that men not sharing their emotions, men being told to man up, worst phrase ever, is completely stultifying. Many years ago, Susan Faludi wrote a book called Stiffed. It's probably out of date by now, but her hypothesis was that modern masculinity, and we're talking 90s maybe, modern masculinity is stultifying for men. It is an emotional straitjacket. If you think of human emotion as this huge spectrum and what's available to you, happiness, sadness, gladness, rage, what's available to you is gender assigned. And some of the more vulnerable, some of the more tender, some of the more exposing emotions are disallowed to men. I get quite talked when I see discussions of recreating this kind of vulnerability as if it's a brand new thing, because we, of course, have been trying to liberate ourselves. All of us have been trying to be more fully human for a very, very long time. If you look at any of the 80s and 90s music videos, good Lord, there was a lot of hair and makeup. Certainly the kind of music that I was watching, there was a lot of hair and makeup, and men were trying to break the stereotypical norms that keep them in this space. So I want to talk about how we write men. I've had a couple of really great conversations in the various rooms about how we write men and women, and this touches slightly on something that's quite controversial in the trad world, which is about own voices and who can write who. And I absolutely believe that if you have an own voice writer who wants to tell a story, publish them. Absolutely publish them. 100%. I do not believe that we should, as writers, not write somebody. I think we should write somebody with great thought and great sensitivity, and with an idea of how we're landing in the world as writers, how we write these characters, how they behave, what they do, what emotion we make available to them matters. So, just as writing kick-ass women back into the narrative matters, writing kick-ass men matters. Writing vulnerable women, writing vulnerable men. I think these things are really important. So I'd like to ask the men in the room if they'd be willing to share about self-care, because I think it matters not only as a writer, most of you are like one man in a room full of women. How do you take care of yourself when you get to the end of a project? You don't have to answer all of these questions, obviously. Do you take care of yourself? Do you have somewhere to go where you can be vulnerable? What's it like to be a man in the 21st century? Is more available to you? And if it isn't, what can we do to help? I'm going to put these books up available first to the men. And then if after 24 hours, none of them have claimed these books, then I'll open it to the whole room. All right. So all of these books are, in one way or another, by men. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I mean, Jane Austen, yes, but also a guy. The film actually is a ton of fun, really a ton of fun. The prose in this is pretty interesting, but the film is a lot of fun. I've got 2 copies of that to give away because I've got 3 copies in my library. Cormac McCarthy. This is post-apoc. This is really, really excellent literary post-apoc. Cormac McCarthy wrote one of my favourite books, which is Child of God, which I do not have a spare copy of. It's a book that I gift very regularly. But this also, excellent book. Larry McMurtry, The Last Picture Show. I cried when I read that. Really, really outstanding. Then I went looking in my cupboard and, we still have one more copy of Humans of New York. Brandon is doing outstanding work because he gets people to open up to him. Doesn't matter what they are, he gets them to open up to him. And I found another copy of Susie Senior Dogs, which isn't written by a man, but there are male writers in here. So, to start with, we are going to, anyone can comment, but I want to talk about the male experience and vulnerability and writing men. And I would like to invite the men to come and comment about what it is like, what that pressure is like, how to write men well, and whether or not we can make a safer space for men to be vulnerable. Who even knew that I was going to do this today? I didn't know I was going to do this today. There we go.